Alrighty. Oh shit, it already swapped. I didn't even realize that shit's... Alright. Welcome, beautiful people. Happy Monday, y'all. I hope everybody had a great, beautiful weekend. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Jayson Estrera Show, where we talk about basketball, sports, and any topic that comes our way as accurate as possible. Now, for today, we got a lot of WNBA talk. You know, a lot of things happened. Caitlin Clark had herself a really busy weekend, you know, picking up where the NBA has left off, right? So we have the Caitlin Clark rules being applied on multiple levels. We're going to talk about whether or not Steph Curry is a top 10 player. And we're also going to be giving out my awards for the NBA playoffs this year, right? Now, as always, it's your boy, your host, Jayson Estrera. Now, let me see. Let's get this thing posted. So, first and foremost, I want to start right over here because this shit is fucking hilarious, dog. Like, yo, this dude is such a hooper, bro.
Katie in his racing that jumper. This never off season. You're right, Katie. Hell yeah.
Yeah. As you can see, KD is working on his game 24/7, bruh. In the club, going ham still. Like, Anthony Edwards might be heading home right now. You know, he got sent home by the Dallas Mavericks. Anthony Edwards might be heading home, but he got this man working on his game in the club. Like, hey, yo, you know, it's crazy too. It's like all of us do it, right? All of us hoopers do it. Little Euro in the crib, practicing, you know, turnarounds. Like, we all do it. But the fact that this man is in the club practicing triple threat, no dribbles, shows you how locked in he is, bro. Like, this, you could tell, like, this, he's single, he got no kids, all he do and think about is hoop and play ball. So you love to see it. You love to see it. You love to see it. Hey, now, from, you know, Kevin Durant to his former running mate, right? There was some talk about generational players. So let's take a look at this. Let me turn the volume up on this because y'all gonna want to hear this one.
Steph is not a generational talent.
Detroit.
Steph Curry. Steph is not a generational.
Steph not a generation.
You know what a generational? Wemby is a generational person. That is a generational talent.
Steph became
a great. Generational means you can't mimic it. You can't mimic. You can't mimic
that number one.
Well, you said you can't. Can you mimic Magic Johnson, 6'9" point guard with the vision? No. You can't mimic Shaquille O'Neal's body. Right? So there's only 5 or 6.
Skill is based on like physical traits.
Okay.
Physical traits is generational. Like somebody like Giannis is tweaking, right? Like Jokic is not a generational talent.
No.
He's just a great basketball player.
Yeah.
And, so I saw a lot of people in the comments debating this. Steph Curry changed the NBA and da-da-da, blase, 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 blah. But they are correct in the sense of when you talk about a generational talent, or a generational player, I should say, that is referring to a player that has physical skills that aren't really matched by others. And it's obviously it's physical gifts mixed with, other things, skill and other attributes that makes them this all-time great player. But when you're looking at a LeBron James that at 6'8", 6'9", 260 can run as fast as he can, jump as high as he could, even at this age, he's still faster and jumps higher than most of the NBA. Everyone is trying to mimic Steph, but I think that when some people he is a all-time player and he has influenced the next generation of players, but in terms of him physically, he wasn't anything special, right? Go Flo. So, ultimately, I think, when they're talking about generational players, it is players that have amazing physical abilities, right? God-given gifts, right? Things that you can't necessarily teach to someone, right? So, LeBron James, Shaq, Magic Johnson, like he was talking about, at his height, to be able to see the floor the way that he did, to have a handle that he had. He wasn't going between the legs. He didn't have a bop game, but to be able to see the floor and handle the ball at his height at that time, it took years for players to be able to emulate something like that. It took LeBron James to come to be a player like that, right? And so yeah, unfortunately, when it comes to this, a lot of players don't fall in this category, right? Kyrie Irving is not a generational player. He worked on his craft. He wasn't physically gifted. He's not stronger, faster. He doesn't jump higher than anyone else. He's not taller than anyone. He's 6'3", 6'4", and he just worked on his game, right? So, I think some people have, an all-time great or a super influential player, have it confused with a player that comes once in a blue. And we say that because those players have physical attributes that... Who led a dynasty? Oh, yeah, but we're talking about something different, GoFlow. I hear what you're saying, but it's just a different category. No one's saying that Steph Curry is not one of the greatest players ever, but I'm just explaining typically when people have spoken about a generational player, and this isn't just now, this has been for as long as I've been watching basketball. When they speak about players like that, it's players that have incredible physical abilities, because the idea is, if you can take someone with physical tools that are better than everyone else's and now give them skills or add stuff to their game, imagine how that player looks like. So look at a LeBron James, who's physically more gifted than everyone else, but now you add all the basketball IQ, you add the vision that you can't teach. Now you have a top 1, 2, 3 player ever. Right? Michael Jordan, hands bigger than everyone else. What do they always say? Fast twitch muscles, 48-inch vertical leap, fast as fuck, strong as fuck. But now he adds a finesse game, the mid-range game. Now you get the 1, 2 best player ever, right? Like even a Kobe Bryant wouldn't necessarily be a generational player because physically he was an average player. And I think that's why a lot of hoopers look at Kobe Bryant the way that we do, because Kobe Bryant became that great without any physical tools, right? And so it's not a diss to players like a Steph Curry, a Nikola Jokic, a Kobe Bryant, that they're not in this category. Honestly, it's a compliment to them to say you are as good as these guys who are like gods, right? Like they have physical gifts that are above everyone else. They're taller than everyone. They're, physical attributes. And the fact that these regular mortals can fucking compete with these guys really is impressive. So that's all that they're really talking about for me. So I just wanted to kind of explain that, because I saw a lot of people on the timeline going kind of crazy about it. But they're really just talking about physical gifts. Now for some more Steph Curry talk, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed it, but when we have this downtime, right, in between shit, is when all this crazy stuff starts happening, right? It happens every single time. And all of a sudden Steph Curry and LeBron James getting talked about every other day. Excuse me, but let's take a look at this, at what T-Mac has to say about
crack my top 10 yet. He just hasn't. I think Steph has had a phenomenal career. I mean, obviously 4 championships, 2 league MVPs. He has a final MVP. But if you go back in his career, and if you look at when Draymond is out of the lineup for the season, if you look at Klay Thompson has missed the season or half of that season, to me, if you're that great, if you're going to be a top 5 and one of your guys are missing, you can't make the playoffs, I can't put you in the top 5 or top 10. I just can't. And that's just my opinion. Greatness to me is when one of your guys are out, you still got to elevate your team at least to the playoffs. Like, they don't even make the playoffs when Klay or Draymond is out of the lineups. And they haven't won a play-in game at all. No. So in top 5, no chance.
All right. Well, I mean, he kind of had some sauce on that shit. The way he just said no chance. Like, so realistically, right, there is an argument for Steph Curry, right? And I guess for me, I'll put it like this. I have, what did I say over here? For me personally, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 players that are guaranteed top 10. That for me personally. And that is Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Wilt Chamberlain, Shaquille O'Neal, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Those guys for me are a guaranteed, like, it's not even, I don't even think it's really, I don't even think you can really question that, to be honest with you, right? So when it comes to whether or not Steph Curry is in the top 10, now it gets a little tricky, right? Because now you're talking about, and here's the thing too, a lot of people I think take offense to it as if it's disrespectful to say Steph Curry isn't a top 10 player ever. Like, we're talking about the greatest basketball players of all time. Do I think he has a legitimate argument? Of course. But now you're talking about Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Bill Russell, Tim Duncan. For me, someone like a Hakeem Olajuwon. You're talking about knocking one of these players out of the top 10. Right? So now, all right, let's do this, right? Let's do okay, here, let's do this. Let's move everyone over. bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bum. All right, let's do this. So Steph Curry for his career averages. All right, let's go over here because you get everything right. 24.8 points, 1.5 steals, 6.4 assists, 4.7 rebounds, on 91% free throw shooting from the line, 47% from the field, and 42 or 43% from three. That is phenomenal. He's a 10-time All-Star, 2-time scoring champ, 4-time NBA champion, 1-time Finals MVP, 2 times NBA MVP, 10 times All-NBA, and the steal champ 1 time. Right? Unbelievable numbers. Unbelievable numbers, right? Like, let's not get it twisted. Let's compare him to Magic Johnson first, right? What the fuck is this? Where the fuck did this Walmart shit come from? What the fuck? Yo. All right. So he played what? 906 games. Bunch of did not plays, right? It said that as play. It says illness, HIV. And so 19.5 points, 1.9 steals, 11.2 assists, 7.2 rebounds. What is this? 84% from the free throw line, 30% from three, and 52% from the field. Bro, what is this Walmart shit? Get this shit out of here. 12-time All-Star, 2-time steals champ, 4-time assist champ, 5 times NBA champion, 3 times Finals MVP, 3 times regular season MVP, 10-time All-NBA. Right? So where Steph was a 3-time or 2-time scoring champ, you know, Magic Johnson is a 4-time assist champ. He was a steals champ 1 time. Magic was a steal champ 2 times. All NBA, you know, 10 to 10. 3 MVPs to 2 MVPs. It's just, we're pulling hair at this point, right? Like, it's so close. It just really, in terms of accolades, you really can't debate it, right? It's to me, it's not so clear cut. Let's compare him to Larry Bird. Larry Bird, and a lot of people don't even know this, for his career averaged 24.3 points, 1.7 steals, 6.3 assists, 10 rebounds on 88% from the free throw line, 49% from the field, 37% from three. 12-time All-Star, 3-time NBA champion, 2-time Finals MVP, 3 times regular season MVP. What else? 10-time All-NBA, 3-time All-Defensive, which is something neither Steph Curry or Magic Johnson has. You know, Magic was never a all-defensive player, right? Like, a lot of people forget how good Larry Bird was, right? Let's not even get into Tim Duncan yet. Bill Russell, for his career, 15.1 points, 4.3 assists, 22.5 rebounds. For me, the part that bothers me about him is the 44% field goal shooting. That shit really, really bugs me, bro. I cannot even lie to you. But we're talking about a 12-time All-Star, 11-time champion, 5-time MVP, 11-time All-NBA, 4-time rebounding champion. 68, 69, all defensive. And he probably would have gotten the defensive player of the year if they had it. Like, let's see. And then if we add, where's this shit, bro? Where's the average, bro? Like, this motherfucker would have averaged something crazy, bro. .1 blocks per game, like, bruh. And so, you know, he don't beat him on the championships. He obviously outscores him in efficiency in like the modern day game, but 22.5 rebounds a game. Like, I don't know. And then let's even do, fuck is this? Bro, what? Am I tripping? Here. So even Akeem, 21.8, 11.1 for his career, 2.5 assists, like two-time champion. And then you compare him to someone like Tim Duncan, 15-time All-Star, 15-time All-NBA, 5-time NBA champion, 3-time Finals MVP, 2-time MVP, 15-time All-Defensive. Like, like what the fuck? 2-time regular season MVP. No, we just want like his regular. Here you go. 19 a game for his career. 3 assists. 10.8 rebounds. 70% free throw shooting. 69.6. Obviously, 17% from 3. 50% from the field. Just like, these are the people Steph Curry is going up against. And like I said, you can make an argument for him top 10 all time, especially if you think he's the best point guard of all time. Then if that's the case, you would kind of have to you would have to put Magic Johnson. By that logic, you would have to put Magic Johnson below him and then do the same thing where now you debate Magic Johnson against Larry Bird, against Bill Russell, against Tim Duncan, against Akeem, and all of these players, and you so on and so forth. But I can see why Steph Curry couldn't be in someone's top 10. And if he were to be in the top 10, he would be the smallest player in the top 10. It would be a feat, right? The smallest players in this top 10 are Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan at 6'6". Those are the smallest players. And the only person in that is that's regular outside of Steph Curry would be like a Kobe Bryant who really worked his game to be, one of the greatest players ever. A Tim Duncan, but he's 7 feet tall, even though he didn't have any physical gifts like that. A Larry Bird, but he's 6'10". Like, even though he didn't have any physical gifts, he was still bigger than most people. So, I don't think it's disrespect to have Steph Curry in your top 10 or out of your top 10. I think it's a debatable thing. He's so good that you can't debate it, and I don't think it's disrespect. Some people just be tripping. Now, speaking of Steph Curry, we move on to the Steph Curry of the WNBA. Alrighty. So, actually, before we get to this, when was this? So on Saturday night, we saw the Indiana Fever take on the Chicago Sky, where the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark won 71-70. Now, they did this behind Kelsey Mitchell, who had 18 points on 6 of 16 shooting, 1 of 6 from 3, 5 of 5 from the line, with 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. And Nalissa Smith with another good game, 17 points, 7 of 12, 2 of 4 from 3, with 9 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. And Caitlin Clark also had 11 points, went 4 of 11 from 3, 4 of 11 from the field, 2 of 9 from 3, with 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, and another 5 turnovers. For the Chicago Sky, we saw Kennedy Carter get 8 of 12, and we're going to be talking about her later. 8 of 12 from the field for 19 points, had 4 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal. And we also saw Marina Mabry, 15 points, 6 of 16 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3, with 9 rebounds and 2 assists. Let's take a look at how this game went.
First in the league in fast break points. Clark, cut it! The veteran squeezes it to the corner. Onyenwere can't hit. Reese on the offensive glass, able to outwork. Mabry unable to hit. Here's Mitchell blasting into the front court. Mitchell shovels and Wallace to the Commissioner's Cup final. What a dish down the floor.
Understand their impact and what it has done and how they are living out their dreams today.
And right on.
That has not been the case and have allowed too much dribble penetration.
Well, and it allows them. Oh, what a dime. My goodness, the 3 didn't take it. Only 3 to shoot. Gonna have to make something happen. Clark through the lane.
Night on my travel here on League Pass.
I can confirm that because as you were waiting for me at the bottom of the escalator, you were watching on your phone.
Nice.
Allen flings it out to Mitchell.
Great move right here.
Mitchell long 2. Here's Mitchell. Curls it out. Boston handoff. Clark back to Boston. Boston spins and bangs on his missed her last 5. Carter just blurs by Clark, who didn't turn her. Here's Carter. Carter looking to take Wheeler. Carter insists her way to the cup. Mabry doubled off to Carter. Her jumper is good. So, and even Kennedy Carter, who's been through her own struggles early on in her W career, no struggling great throughout this season. Mabry, she got to see her. Mitchell was wide open on the wing. Here's Smith, the floater in. Clark another rebound, tosses ahead. Wheeler extra feed. Oh, that was pretty. Carter.
Nice.
Kicking it out. Evans fakes the 3.
Good move right there.
And
And look at that shit. Look at that. Look at this right here. Yeah, get the fuck out of here, Clark. Yo, that's funny. We're going to be talking about that. Give me that. And so, obviously, you know, the Indiana Fever got their first home win of the season, their second win of the season. And we saw the Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese matchup. And, before I even forget, let me see. Give Angel Reese some love because she also had 8 points with 13 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 2 of 9 from the field, 4 of 6 from the free throw line. And Indiana Fever pulled out a close game. The first thing that I gotta ask, and obviously I don't know how far ahead they know this stuff, but you had that game at 12 p.m. Eastern on a fucking Saturday. I would love to I would love to see. I would love to see the numbers from that game, because on that same day we had the Champions League, we had UFC at night, boxing with Wild. It was just like a wild night to have. It was just a wild day of sports, and to have that just crammed at the start of everything, it was just like you could have just picked a different time. We've seen these two put up numbers. Granted, you know, it was in March Madness, so it wasn't just a random game, but we've seen them do numbers before. And obviously the two of them had a less than stellar game, and we saw some physicality. But for me, more importantly, when it comes to the Chicago Sky, to the Indiana Fever, there are some things that I notice with them. And, you know, I keep referencing Steph Curry and shit. And Aaliyah Boston, I jokingly said she could be like a Draymond Green type of player. But she's looking to score. And so a play like this is kind of like the Warriors, where she gets the ball and instead of she immediately looks and screen, but she gives like a half screen. If she actually picks this girl, Caitlin Clark gets a wide open three, but she kind of slips it. They double her and she gets a shot, which is great, but just these little adjustments that would get her, you know, open buckets. And I don't think they have it here. But Caitlin Clark is also much better going to her left. And I'll talk about this more in a second, that they had a play towards the end of the game where it was like with 30 seconds left or some shit. And it was a pick and roll with Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark at the middle of the floor at the top of the key, and it was going to the right. So that means Aaliyah Boston would be going to her left. I haven't watched them very much, right? I'm not going to fucking pretend like... But from what I've seen, Caitlin Clark prefers going to her left. She prefers shooting to her left. She can make more plays going to her left. If she goes right, she pretty much just direct line drives to the rim. Or she's going to pass it off. Now, Aaliyah Boston, I think she prefers going to her right. If she dribbles left, she's going to spin left shoulder and get back to her right side. You saw when she finishes, she'll scramble, go get back to her right side. So at the end of a game, why do you have a pick and roll that puts both players in an uncomfortable spot instead of putting them towards their strength? I don't get it. Like, maybe I could be wrong, but I personally think that that's the scouting report on Caitlin Clark, and I don't know, but they pulled out a win. They clutched up. Caitlin Clark was off the ball for most of the end there in the fourth quarter, and that's another thing that I think is a little odd, because when you just stick her in the corner, she's never the next pass off of a double team or off of a dribble drive, so she never gets spot up threes. She never gets easy threes, and then people are complaining and bitching like, oh, she's always taking pull-ups. Those are the only shots she gets. Unfortunately, if she's off the ball and she's the opposite side corner, she's typically not getting the ball for an open three. It just the offense isn't currently set up that way, right? And talking more about kind of just what's happening with Clark. Let's see this.
You know, I feel like I'm just at the point where you accept it and don't retaliate. Like, you know, just let them hit you, be what it is.
Let them hit you.
Inside your head and know it's coming. I think at this point, like, I know I'm going to take a couple hard shots a game, and that's what it is. Just stay in the game is saying what's important.
She turned to you a little bit.
Yeah.
After the I ain't answering no Caitlin Clark questions.
Yeah, people complaining
know what she
definitely
said.
ain't watching, bro.
I didn't say anything.
That's enough. We're good.
She's good. I'm trying not to get fined.
We're just going to keep sending these possessions to the league and these plays, and hopefully they'll start, taking a better look at some
Yo.
of the things that we see happening or we think is happening.
Get this woman a cough drop.
Getting hammered the way she does, and to not get rewarded with free throws or, just a foul call. Like she's continuing to fight through that.
Yo, she's dead as the WNBA version of Doc Rivers. Yo, get that woman a fucking cough drop and some lemon ginger tea. Holy shit. She's fucking stressed. She's been sounding like that since the first game of the year. I don't know. I don't know what's happening, bro. But obviously everyone's up in arms because everyone has been so physical with Caitlin Clark, and I guess some people just don't know. Maybe some people just don't watch. I get that there's also a lot of younger fans out there, right?
Jordan to the
But this was a real thing, and if anybody out there saw The Last Dance, you would know what I'm talking about.
Jordan to the foul line, room in the lane. Isaiah grabs him and fouls him.
The Jordan rules were for the Pistons to know about, not for anybody else to know about.
The Jordan rules, is that something you guys made up?
Jordan rules were, to stop him, period, because nobody else could beat you on that ball club.
They have been called a dirty ball club, and I can see why.
It's so I think some people forget that this is a part of the sport. She's a smaller player, so you attack her physically. It's been happening forever. If you watch any NBA players podcast and they talk about, a lot of them have talked about, their welcome to the NBA moment, and sometimes it'll be like a play, other times it'll be, oh, somebody hit me really hard, because they're trying to check my temperature. They're trying to check if I'm gonna stand up for myself or if I'm gonna fold under the pressure. And that's what's happening to Caitlin Clark right now. I was saying last week, right? I said this shit last week. I said it's a matter of time until she figures out the WNBA game. She's with as much physicality as she's felt, as poorly as she's played, she's averaging like 17, 7, and 6. Granted, it's a lot of turnovers and really bad shooting, but it's a matter of time until she figures out how to dominate the WNBA. And it's not a surprise to me that all of this physicality shit, that there's people picking on her, that it happens right after she has a 30-piece. You guys think that that's not surprising? Because to me, that's not surprising. To me, that's the WNBA players recognizing, oh shit, she gonna start scoring 30 on us. Now we gotta play fucking physical. Now we gotta prevent her from doing that, from gaining confidence. I was just talking about how you play her. The Caitlin Clark rules are very simple. You play physical with her. You go over the screen. You never go under the screen. You play her tight. You stay on her hip. And you force her to her right. Or if she's going to go left, force her middle. Run her off the three-pointer because she's going to go in and try to get a layup or pass the ball. She has no mid-range game right now. The scouting report on Caitlin Clark it's not that hard. And they are implementing it across the board. Oh, and then when she's on defense, if you're a veteran team like the Aces, you target her. You put her in pick and rolls. You have your bigs post her up. This is the same shit that happens every single day. It just so happens to be the most popular player in the WNBA. So everyone needs to fucking relax. Everyone needs to relax. This is a part of the course. This has happened to Michael Jordan, Steph Curry. It's happened to everybody. Bro, listen, man, I'm saying I think some people be forgetting. I think some people have like short-term
fast twitch.
I think some people got short-term memory loss, or like I said, maybe sometimes people just getting around to basketball, right? And I understand that some people hating on the fact that motherfuckers is just getting onto the WNBA, but
Curry playing with
do we forget this?
James throws it inside again to Thompson. Tristan Thompson.
Where's this shit? Do we forget this? Bron switches on him. Yeah, get your ass out of here. It's a part of basketball. It's a part of it. It's a part of it. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. And so now, as a result of that, as a result of her now, making a change in the NBA, right? With what happened in that game, good times. Yeah, that's good times. But yo, that wasn't even that long ago. It just goes to show you like how crazy this shit really is. But let me see, where's this shit at? I think it's over here. Here it is. And so, as a result of what happened in that game, the Sky's Kennedy Carter. What the fuck is this? Why did it just switch? Switch to like the fucking other shit in here. What the fuck, bro? It switched to my orders. Why did it do that? All right. So the WNBA shared the following update after Sky versus Fever. It shared like my other orders, like my eBay orders and shit. The Sky's Kennedy Carter has now been assessed a flagrant 1 after league review. Angel Reese has been fined $1,000 for failing to make herself available to media after the game. And the Chicago Sky have been fined $5,000 for failing to ensure all players comply with league media policies. So this is news because it obviously looks like they're protecting Caitlin Clark, right? I will say this though. There's no way that Angel Reese, the person that likes to trash talk, all of a sudden isn't going to show up to a press conference. You got to show up when you win, and you got to show up when you lose. You can't. I just said this shit about Karl Anthony Towns the other day when they lost in like fucking game 5 or whatever. Like, you can't do that shit. You can't be, oh, happy day, come praise me, come in. Like, I show up to the press conference, everybody has to tell me compliments and tell me how amazing I was. And then when I play poorly and we lose to my rival, I don't show up. That's stupid. However, I think the deeper part is the WNBA is making a change to the way the game is played in real time. And it is because of Caitlin Clark. The reality is the WNBA is probably more physical than the NBA right now. And that's a problem. No one wants to see 67 to 68 scores. I'm so sorry. Right? So we need to open the game up. Right? And there's gonna be some pushback. It's this we saw this in the NBA. But they're gonna have to slowly loosen the game up, slowly change the rules so the game can be more open. You could blame Caitlin Clark all you want. The same shit happened in the NBA. And look, all NBA games it was the most sold out games in the NBA this past season. Everyone can say what they want. I'm sure the ratings are up if you take everything into account. Yes. Yeah, they need to show up to the press conferences. 100%. 100%. Oh, yeah, 100%. Just like the Magic. And they got to start making commercials and shit and content with these people. Like Sabrina with Clark. Angel Reese with Aja Wilson. Like, they got to start doing this. And bro, the other thing where's the shit, bro? I saw this earlier too. And let's see.
Anybody as you navigate your being.
Being black.
Hold on 1 second. Around the way that it's being discussed. When you no. And yes, Shannon, I know y'all are gonna say and Stephen A, I know you just shared that you have talked about the WNBA on your program too. You guys may not have said everybody, but the prevailing sentiment for folks that are just joining the WNBA and following women's sports is unfair to the women of this league, to your point, who have laid the groundwork for Caitlin Clark to come in and now take it to the next level. That's all I'm saying in these conversations. Kennedy Carter's behavior is not indicative of the entire league. We are still talking about competition where you are allowed to get a little extra elbow in if you are competing and you do it within the parameters of the game. The game is physical. Caitlin is helping to grow the league. These women understand that, but she cannot be babied as a rookie. That's all I'm at.
All right. Who talks about the WNBA? Who talks about women? Who talk about women's sports more than First Take?
Stephen A, respectfully, with your platform, you could have been doing this 3 years ago if you wanted to.
Wow.
All right, we gotta go. You guys.
So did you say
you're my guy, but
who does?
You know you my guy, but
I'm talking to you.
Wow.
Don't do that. I'm talking to you about the power that you have.
Okay.
I'm talking to you.
like what she missing is 3 years ago there was no Caitlin Clark. Like, wait, what do we? And I thought I was tripping about this shit, right? So I had to go ask my girl. I had to ask our friend Shayna. I had to ask them and get like a women's perspective, because I was like, am I tripping for feeling like you can't have it both ways? You can't say, oh, you can't watch, like, you can't say, oh, nobody's been watching our fucking game all these years. Like, y'all not supporting us. We not getting no money. We need more money, blah, 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 blah. And then when you finally get the viewership and the influx of casual viewers, you're saying, oh, well, you weren't talking about us before. You have no right to have an opinion. You can't blah, 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 blah. Oh, you can't highlight Caitlin Clark whenever every chance you get, even though she's the reason they have all these charter flights and all these viewers. You can't have it both ways. You can't complain you didn't have the viewership, and then when the viewership comes, complain about the viewership. The fuck are we talking about? Like, it is what it is. Like, I understand the WNBA players that have this stance because they're competing with these people. But at some point, you got to say, well, fuck it. The views are coming in. Like, it happened at some point. Like, people got to have this mentality where the work that you do today, especially in situations like this, you will never get the benefits out of it the same way the people in the future will. Like you're never gonna get that same dollar amount. You think all those motherfucking players in the 60s, 70s, and 80s wish their parents had a baby 30 years later? Yeah, but that's not how shit works. We're seeing NBA players now laughing about it. Like, yo, I could have just, a couple years later, like, I could have made $200 million. Like, yeah, and honestly, I do think too, Richard, that a lot of people are just making, like, kind of like with the NBA, they're just talking just for content, just to have some shit to talk about. And they're creating this narrative so that there is a villain, so that there are two sides of something that are clashing, even though there really isn't. Right? It's always a quiet minority that has these opinions, and it's like, bro, we've seen this shit before. Like, we've seen how this works, we've seen how this works when you have a polarizing popular athlete come into the scene, and now everyone benefits as a result of it. Everyone doesn't all of a sudden have to suck that person's dick, but we also can't sit around and pretend like it's not happening. It is what it is. Like, it is what it is, bro. It is what it is. But yeah, it's a lot of back and forth right now in women's basketball. And now to move on to the final part of this little weekend that Caitlin Clark had, it ended with this shit. Yep. Like, I don't expect the WNBA players to be saying anything super positive about her, but like the media, all this bullshit is just like, it's just noise. You know what I'm saying?
Caitlin Clark had something wrong with her ear, and she would head to the locker room after the trainer checked in with her. So we'll keep our eye on Caitlin Clark, but right now the focus is on Aaliyah Boston, who is down, holding her, looks like her ankle maybe?
Yeah, you know what? Maybe with seconds, I'm looking at a 30-point game in the future, two of my franchise, and in Aaliyah Boston, and limping back to the court, and you got Caitlin Clark going to the locker room. I don't know. But maybe it's time to sit down. It's the second game of a back-to-back. Players are tired. You're more likely for an injury. This is incidental. Everybody's by accident.
Like, so obviously we saw Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston go down with it looked like a knee or like an ankle injury, and Clark apparently went out with a ear injury, I guess. But I just want y'all to see this shit because I thought this is funny. The Fever have played 11 games, right? They are 2-9. Look at everyone else. 8 games, 9 games, 8 games, 6 games, 8 games, 7 games, 9 games, 7 games, 7 games, 8 games, 8 games. The team that has played nearly the closest amount to them is fucking 9 games. They have played 2 more games than the rest of the WNBA, almost double some of them. They got them working double and triple overtime right now. Like, they are playing all of the games because Caitlin Clark is the most popular player. So that's the other part they're not talking about. Would you want to have her responsibility, all the media responsibility? Look, they're playing more games. Like, she has so much pressure on her. But I do think that I'm not saying it's bullshit, right? But if you got a little bit of ringing in your ear, as long as, like, the shit ain't making you squeal, you gotta play. You off of the physicality shit, you can't show weakness. And this is across the board. Right? When Anthony Edwards dunked on John Collins, I don't know if y'all remember that shit. Is it? When Anthony Edwards dunked on John Collins, I don't know if y'all know this, but John Collins left that game later due to a migraine or a headache or some shit. Motherfucker, outside of you spraining some shit or twisting, you can't leave the fucking game. And I think the same goes for Caitlin Clark right now. You can't all of a sudden miss a game because of an ear injury. And like I said, maybe it's more serious than I think it is, right? Maybe it's some kind of what's the term? Like concussion or something. I don't know. Maybe it's something along those lines. But leaving a game because of an ear injury sounds wild to me. And it just, off of the physicality stuff, you can't show signs of weakness. You gotta show them that you are tougher than that. And she has so far. She's getting in people's faces. And hopefully this really is a real injury in the sense of that she's not ducking smoke. But I think that is something to note moving forward. Now, I guess for me, I would say the more exciting part, I have my NBA playoff awards, and some of the awards I'm going to have are going to be a little bit different. I just want to give some love to all of these guys in the NBA because there has been great basketball and a lot of guys have been doing their fucking thing. So I just want to say, shout out to all these people, man. Shit, they've been, like I said, been fucking phenomenal. I've had a lot of fun watching these games. I'm gonna talk about some stats, but a lot of it really is for me the eye test. If I'm being honest with you, and let me see this shit. All right, so for the first award, for me, it's the most valuable paint defender, and I wanted to fucking split this up because I think the other guys, and we'll get into that in a second, they're not getting enough love. And for me, the most valuable, I'm not saying the best, he's not, to me, he's the most valuable paint defender. And I think here, I think maybe we should do this. What is... Let's see. Merriam-Webster. So valuable means having monetary value, worth a good price, having desirable or esteemed characteristics or qualities, of great use or service. Right? So we're talking about someone that has great value. The numbers and stuff are one thing, but someone that has great value to their team as a paint defender. And for me, that is none other than Daniel Gafford of the Dallas Mavericks. And there's other guys that have averaged more, blocks and stuff than him, rebounds. Let's go take a look at his numbers real quick, actually. 21 minutes a game, 9.2 points. What is this? 5.9 rebounds, 1.8 blocks. And for me, you could almost split this up between him and and like what's his name? A Derek Lively. But for me, being the starter, being the physically bigger player, right? He's added so much toughness to this team. He's caused a lot of missed shots because he does a really great job of standing up and staying up and down and not fouling. So, I got to give that to him. On top of that, he's one of the key reasons as to why Luka Doncic has looked like a great defender. The narrative this playoffs is, he's become a great defender. Yeah, Lively was out of that game that they lost. Yeah, he was for sure. But I also think, Richard, that if Lively had to take on that extra responsibility of being the starter, it would be, I think his game, you could say it would look better, but it could also look worse. Like, we don't know, right? But Gafford is just such a big, physical, imposing dude. I think, beyond just the rebounding and the blocks, he's given these guys a toughness, right? He's the one that's had to deal with everyone in the paint. Chet Holmgren, I think, was averaging more blocks. Mobley also was averaging more blocks. But to me, Gafford has been the most valuable because of the things that he does, and also because he covers Luka Doncic's ass. Like, let's be honest. Like, it is like, if it wasn't for him and also Lively, like, obviously those guys, they're covering Luka's ass. It is what it is, bro. Like, that's why he's valuable. He lets the best player be the best player. So moving on to the most valuable perimeter player now. I had a little bit of a tough time with this one. Because ironically, he's a great big, and I didn't even talk about like the lob and all that stuff, right? Like, he's been phenomenal. Now for the most valuable perimeter player, you could have gone a couple different directions, right? You could have gone. Why Porzingis? What? Yeah, because Porzingis is more of like a 3-point shooter, and if you just have him, he's more of like a jump shooter. If you just have him sitting trying to dunk the whole game, you're taking out a part of his game that's also really good. But yes, so most valuable perimeter defender. Like I said, you could have gone a couple different directions. For me, the ones that came to mind are Lou Dort, Drew Holiday, what's his name? Honestly, Derek White and Jaylen Brown have also done a great job of being on-ball defenders and perimeter defenders. But personally, I'm going to have to give it to Drew Holiday. I think he's, 1.3 steals. The numbers don't really say it all. If you watched the McDaniels was also really great. McDaniels was also really great. I just have for me, Richard, I don't know if you remember when Iguodala got the MVP award, and I'm not saying he didn't play great. Everyone kept saying he played great defense. He played great defense. He played great defense. LeBron averaged 35, 15, and fucking 11 or some shit in that finals. How great of a defense could you have played? Not saying they didn't, but great players Luka still got his 30 points a game on Jaden McDaniels this series. McDaniels made it difficult on Kevin Durant, but Kevin Durant also averaged 28, 27 in that series. So like, yeah, like for me, Drew Holiday's defense was so good that Tyrese Halliburton faked the calf injury. Like, this motherfucker just sat on the bench. He said, fuck it, I don't want to play against this motherfucker no more, man. Like, he tapped out. But Drew Holiday has had game-winning stops in the playoffs. He checks the best players. He was checking Halliburton. He was checking Nembhard. And, the way Nembhard got off in that game was because Nembhard was going off a million different screens. Like, Drew Holiday has been that dude. Part of the reason why, what's his name? Motherfucker from Miami. Tyler Hero didn't have as much, he played solid, but Drew Holiday was really keeping him at bay. So for me, the most valuable perimeter defender has been Drew Holiday, and we get to see him against Luka Doncic in the series. So that's fucking exciting. And next, I want to talk about the most valuable role player, because I don't think the sixth man really applies that much in the playoffs because they don't really play their bench that much. And it changes from series to series who that X factor player is. So for me, I just kind of want to give it to a role player. And when I say a role player, like, for example, like a Derek White, I think would apply to this instead of a Jaylen Brown, right? A Michael Porter or a Aaron Gordon would apply to this and not a Jamal Murray, right? And so for me, I had a couple names that I had in this, man. I had Gafford, Lively, Derek White. But for me, the name that kept popping up, and you could call me a motherfucking, like, a homer, but it is what it is. But I'm not going to lie to you. The most valuable role player would have to be... Here it is. Where is it? Yeah. Oh, let me do this. The most valuable role player would have to be Josh Hart, right? Like, is this even... I don't even think this is close, right? Like, it's Josh Hart. I mean, everyone's been great. Don't get me wrong. Like, the Dallas Mavericks have been phenomenal. Boston has been great. This guy's averaging 14 and a half. It's White for you. This guy is averaging 14 and a half and 11 and a half rebounds, bro. Derek White has been great. It's just this guy has been so, like, in terms of his numbers. Like, White does a lot of shit that don't show up in the score on the stat sheet also. But like this 14 and a half, 11 and a half rebounds, a steal, almost a block. Like, nah, 4.5 assists. Nah, bro, you are tripping. Like, we could take a look at, let's take a look at, Derek White's stats. Well, I mean, just a role player. No. I'm talking about just like a role player. But like, he was just doing his thing, bro. Like, what did Derek White? What has he been averaging for this playoffs? 17.8, 4.1, 4.6, 0.9. Yeah, I mean, that's also tough. That's also real tough, Richard. You really can't go with either one. But yeah, I think for me, it's gotta be one of those two players for me, man. I agree with you. It's gotta be either. I say Josh Hart. I'm just a homer. I'm just a Nick dude. But bro, there was no one else to play. Like, who the fuck else was gonna play? Like, for the most valuable player, and I think this is where what you had just said comes in. You can go Luka. You can even go Tatum. You can go Shea. You can go Jaylen Brown even. But for me, the most valuable player of the playoffs has been Cole Cousins. Like, am I tripping for this, Richard? This guy's got to be the most valuable player of the playoffs, right? He's 39 minutes a game. Where's this motherfucker? 32.4, 7.5 assists. Come on. I mean, you could go anybody, but like Luka, for me, Luka had kind of he didn't have the best series against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Granted, Brunson didn't have a great series towards the end of the Indiana series, and he only played 2 series to Luka's 3. But without Jalen Brunson, I mean, the Knicks don't get a single win in the playoffs. Like, Jalen Brunson is like, in my opinion, at least through the first, like, yeah, he definitely, I don't know if he got saved by Kyrie, but Kyrie was definitely like a huge factor. And I was even saying, Richard, I felt like, I don't know if this was a game plan that they had against Oklahoma City. Like, I don't know if they consciously did this, but it felt like the strategy against Oklahoma City was Luka has to match Shai Gilgeous's output. And then Kyrie Irving, instead of scoring 30, it was his job to get everyone else involved, because the Oklahoma City Thunder have possibly 4 to 5 players outside of Shai that can get you 12 to 18 points. So instead of Kyrie looking for 20, 25, 30 shots and scoring 30 to 35 points, that's why he was passing so much. That's why PJ Washington, Gafford, Derrick Jones Jr., that's why these guys were scoring, because they had to match the output of 3 to 4 players getting 12, 14 plus points a game. And, you know, that's how great Kyrie was, that he was able to do that for a whole series and then turn around in the Minnesota Timberwolves series and go get 30 when he needed to. It's just, you know, that's how good it was. And then, like you said, Brown and Tatum are a cheat code, you know, and I'm gonna get more into this the next 2 days, but their bench has also been so great. Like, yes, PJ Washington was the energy, you know, they had to match the output of 4 to 5 players outside of Shai getting, you know, double figures, and they did that. So for me, Jalen Brunson is the most valuable player of the playoffs, and I don't think it's really close. I don't think it's really close. If Andrew Nembhard didn't hit that 3, we'd probably be we probably would have had to play against Boston. So this shit would look totally different. But anyway, those are my awards for the playoffs so far. I cannot wait for, you know, the finals to start on Thursday. The next 2 days is going to be some nerdy ass basketball talk. We're going to be doing in-depth breakdowns on both the Boston Celtics. Yeah, they did, man. They did. If one of those guys, Richard, can like rise to a second option all-star type of player, they got some shit. And Shai Gilgeous to me was a close second. or third in the most valuable player in the playoffs, because if it wasn't for him, that Mavs series wouldn't have been close. And so, yeah, those are my guys. We're gonna be talking some in-depth basketball, like I said, on the Boston Celtics and the Dallas Mavericks the next 2 days, and then I'll probably make my pick on Thursday. So we'll see what happens. But as always, you could have been anywhere on the internet. Richard, thank you for hanging out with me. Could have been anywhere on the internet, but you decided to hang out with me. I appreciate you for that. He did get robbed of an MVP award this year. But thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate you watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. I will be back on tomorrow, talking more basketball as always. But until then, I will see y'all later. Thank you guys for watching. Peace. Thank you, Richard. I'll talk to you later, bro. Peace.